PSG and Bayern Munich just gave us a 5-4 Champions League semi-final that was brilliant to watch and slightly absurd to defend, while Manchester United somehow ended up linked with both Morgan Rogers and Rafael Leao in the same rumor cycle. Chelsea then turned the day even sharper. Millie Bright retired immediately, Mykhailo Mudryk took his fight to CAS, and Cole Palmer got dragged into fresh speculation he never asked for. So which stories actually move power, and which ones are just football wearing a very expensive smoke machine? This is Just Soccer, and we are not giving polite treatment to noisy nonsense. Start with the one story that was real chaos on the pitch, because PSG's 5-4 over Bayern leaves glamour, panic, and one massive second leg in Germany, straight to the biggest game of the night. When a semi-final finishes 5-4, the entertainment is obvious, but the bigger question is which coach can live with the defensive damage before the return. PSG beat Bayern Munich 5-4 in Champions League semi-final first leg classic. The temptation is to call this pure football romance and move on, but 9 goals in a Champions League semi-final usually means somebody lost control long before the final whistle. What matters now is not the highlight reel. It is whether PSG's 1-goal edge survives a trip to Germany against a Bayern side that will believe this tie is still completely alive. BBC says PSG lead the tie 5-4 after the first leg, and the numbers alone tell you how wild it became. Ousmane Dembele scored twice, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia scored twice, and PSG still walked off knowing the celebration could not last too long because a 1-goal lead in a semifinal is not security, it is a warning label before 90 more minutes in Germany. Fans are already calling it one of the most chaotic recent semifinals, and they are not wrong. The attacking quality was obvious, but so were the gaps. Both defensive structures looked vulnerable under pressure, especially once the game opened up and transitions started flying through midfield like permission had been granted. It made for brilliant television, yet neither staff room will be pretending this was a polished tactical masterclass when the clips of the chances conceded keep replaying on Monday morning. The selection and tactical consequences before the second leg are now huge. PSG have the lead, yes, but BBC's line is only that they lead 5-4 after the first leg, not that the tie is done. Bayern can still frame this as proof they can hurt PSG repeatedly, while PSG can point to Dembele and Kvaratskhelia punishing Bayern whenever space appeared. That mix is why the return feels dangerous for both clubs. One team has the aggregate edge, the other has proof the edge can disappear fast. In another development, the transfer machine moved from real goals to projected ones. Manchester United are back in the rumor market, and this time the name climbing the page is Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers named in Paper Talk as a Manchester United target. This is the kind of story that can get oversized very quickly, because the player profile is easy to sell. Young, productive, Premier League tested, and already familiar to viewers every weekend. The harder part is the one clubs hate discussing in public. Once 4 clubs are named in the same rumor, the fee expectation starts inflating before any formal move is even visible. Sky Sports Paper Talk says Manchester United see Aston Villa attacker Morgan Rogers as a top attacking target, with Arsenal, Chelsea, and PSG also mentioned in the same report. That is important context because Paper Talk is not a confirmed bid tracker. It is rumor stage reporting, not a signed memo from a boardroom, and there is a big difference between admiration and action when the likely asking price starts climbing. Rogers being on lists makes football sense. He is an Aston Villa player, he has grown into a louder name, and United fans can reasonably argue that a Premier League proven option carries less adaptation risk than a glamorous leap into the unknown. The split among supporters also makes sense, because the moment multiple elite clubs are attached to one player, the conversation stops being only about talent and starts becoming about whether the fee would be smart or just desperate. What should not happen is people talking like a deal is moving already. The story package is clear. This is Paper Talk. 4 clubs are named, and there is no verified bid or agreement. For United, that means interest may be real while the path is still foggy. For Villa, it means any future conversation begins with leverage on their side, not on a back page. Elsewhere, one United winger rumor was apparently not enough. The same club that is being linked with Morgan Rogers is also being linked with Rafael Leao, which tells you either the recruitment net is wide or the noise level is doing laps around the truth. Manchester United consider move for AC Milan forward Rafael Leao. Leao is exactly the type of name that makes a club look ambitious before it proves anything about planning, because star power is easy to announce and much harder to fit. If United are serious about reshaping their attack, the important question is not whether Leao is talented. It is whether the club can build a coherent structure around expensive wide players instead of collecting them like luxury distractions. BBC Gossip says Manchester United are considering a move for AC Milan forward Rafael Leao. That wording matters. Considering a move is not the same thing as opening formal talks, agreeing personal terms, or persuading AC Milan to sell. At this stage, the report supports transfer interest and little more, so any claim that this is already advanced would be sprinting far ahead of the evidence. Leao is an easy player for fans to imagine in a high-profile rebuild because the profile is obvious. Pace, presence, star quality, and the feeling that he can win moments by himself. That is also why supporters immediately jump to the hard part. How affordable would he be? How cleanly would he fit? And does splashing out on a wide forward fix the larger structural issues that have made United look disjointed for long stretches? A famous name can excite the crowd, but it cannot hide every spacing problem once the match starts. For now, the clean version is simple. Leao's current club in this story package is AC Milan. BBC gossip says United are considering him, and nothing in the reporting says an offer has been accepted. It is a live rumor, not a late-stage negotiation, and those are two very different transfer worlds. Meanwhile, another big name got dragged back into the rumor carousel, and this one needs a reality check before anything else. Julian Alvarez is an Atletico Madrid player, which sounds obvious until transfer chatter starts acting like time stopped. Julian Alvarez pushes back on fresh Arsenal transfer talk. A lot of transfer content survives by quietly leaning on old associations, as if viewers will not notice the present-day club badge has changed. The useful correction here is basic but necessary. If a story cannot keep Alvarez anchored to Atletico Madrid, it is already telling you the rumor may be louder than the substance. Football London frames Julian Alvarez as pushing back against the latest Arsenal transfer speculation. The exact tone around that coverage has helped the story spread, but the hard evidence in the package is much narrower than the noise. There is no verified bid figure, no formal approach confirmed in this pool, and no basis for treating this as an advanced move. That matters because plenty of fans like the idea on paper. Alvarez is a top-level profile, and Arsenal supporters will always react when a forward of that caliber appears in the feed. Still, the immediate pushback from many observers is pretty sensible. Why would Atletico Madrid entertain a sale unless something dramatic changed? Right now, the reporting does not show that kind of movement. It shows a rumor meeting resistance, not a transfer gaining momentum. So keep the present-day context locked in. Alvarez is identified here as an Atletico Madrid player, and the story is about him pushing back on fresh Arsenal talk rather than a deal taking shape. Until something firmer appears, this remains speculation with a famous name attached and no verified approach underneath it. At the same time, one story today was not rumor at all. It was final, abrupt, and massive for Chelsea. Chelsea captain Millie Bright announces retirement from football with immediate effect. Some departures drift in over months. This one lands all at once, which is why the emotional reaction is immediately tied to a football problem Chelsea cannot postpone. Millie Bright's retirement is not just the end of a decorated career, it creates a leadership vacuum in the middle of a team that cannot replace authority with a montage. Chelsea captain Millie Bright has announced her retirement from football with immediate effect. That is the key fact, and it hits hard because there is no soft landing built into it. BBC Sport reports the retirement, while The Guardian notes that Bright had already retired from England duty in 2025. This is not an international-only step back, and it is not a transfer exit. It is the end of her playing career now. The scale of the career is easy to forget in the shock of the timing. Bright won 8 WSL titles with Chelsea and became one of the defining figures of an era, so the reaction has naturally been dominated by tributes. But fans are also right to look at the practical consequences straight away. Chelsea are losing their captain, a central defensive reference point, and a dressing room voice that cannot be recreated just because somebody else inherits the armband before the weekend. That leaves immediate succession questions on and off the pitch. Who carries the authority Bright carried in tense moments? Who organizes the line when pressure rises? Who becomes a visible standard inside a squad used to her presence? Those are not sentimental details, they are structural issues for Chelsea the moment an immediate retirement becomes real. That is not the only major Chelsea development today. Another long-running problem has moved out of the rumor fog and into a formal legal fight. Chelsea forward Mykhailo Mudryk appeals to CAS against reported 4-year ban. The important shift here is procedural. Once CAS confirms an appeal, the story stops being only about fallout and becomes a contested case with real time attached to it. Chelsea still cannot plan around wishful thinking. Until anything changes formally, the sensible football assumption is that Mudryk is not returning to help the team anytime soon. CAS has confirmed that Chelsea forward Mykhailo Mudryk has lodged an appeal against the FA over a reported 4-year ban. That changes the shape of the story because it moves the discussion from reported sanction alone to an active legal challenge. It does not mean the ban has been overturned, and it definitely does not make him available again. It simply means the case is now being fought on another stage. The source package also says Mudryk has not played since November 2024, which tells you how long Chelsea have already been dealing with the football consequences. Supporters debating the player's future are really debating squad planning. Do you keep a place in long-term thinking open for a return that may be distant and uncertain, or do you operate as if this chapter is effectively closed for now? That is why the fan conversation is so blunt. Sentiment is one thing, squad building is another. For Chelsea, the uncomfortable truth is the same today as it was before the appeal. Nothing has been resolved. CAS confirms the appeal exists, the reported ban length remains 4 years, and Mudryk is not currently available to play. The legal route may change the destination later, but the club still has to make present-day decisions under that cloud. The situation is becoming more complex around Chelsea because one update was not enough for the rumor economy. Now Cole Palmer has been pulled into fresh Manchester United chatter alongside criticism of Chelsea's wider environment. Cole Palmer linked in fresh Manchester United rumors amid Chelsea commentary. When a club's structure is under fire, its best player often becomes the symbol people argue over, whether or not there is a real transfer process behind the noise. That is what this looks like right now. Palmer's name is functioning as a proxy for bigger frustrations around Chelsea, not as proof that a move is actually developing. A Football London item revives Manchester United rumors around Chelsea's Cole Palmer while also leaning into commentary about Chelsea's environment. That combination is exactly why this story catches fire so quick. Palmer is good enough to make any top club rumor feel dramatic on contact, and criticism around the team gives the speculation emotional fuel. Still, the evidence in this package does not show a confirmed transfer move, a fee, or talks opening between clubs. Chelsea fans rejecting the idea of any sale are reacting to more than attachment. If Palmer is the player you build around, then turning him into a rumor every time the club takes criticism starts to look like tabloid therapy rather than football planning. Equally, United fans know the name is exciting, but excitement is cheap when there is no verified process underneath. Right now, this is rumors and commentary, not a transaction. So the clean line matters again. Palmer is a Chelsea player, there is no confirmed bid detail in the pool, and nothing here proves he wants to leave or that Manchester United have open talks. The story tells you more about the scrutiny around Chelsea than it does about an actual transfer path. Now to a story with longer-term impact for a different kind of stress level, your mini league. 4 weeks left in FPL is when calm managers start behaving like they are trying to crack a vault with a paperclip. Captain Thiago and Triple Arsenal FPL Team of the Week. BBC's latest FPL Team of the Week goes with Captain Thiago in a Triple Arsenal setup, and the broader point is familiar to anyone chasing or protecting rank. With 4 weeks left in the season, the game becomes a balancing act between explosive differentials and the reliable performers you are almost scared to sell. One huge punt can make you look like a genius for a weekend. It can also turn your captaincy into a self-inflicted comedy sketch by Sunday night. That is why the timing matters more than the glamour. Late season FPL is not only about hunting upside, it is about judging which risks are actually necessary. If you are leading your league, consistency suddenly looks very attractive. If you are chasing, template safety can feel like slow surrender. The BBC framing captures that tension well. Hold faith with the dependable names, but know that 4 weeks is just short enough for one aggressive swing to change the table. That is the day in football as it really looks. One semi-final balanced on a single goal before Germany, one Chelsea legend gone immediately, one legal fight still unresolved, and several transfer stories that are still rumors no matter how expensive the graphics become. This has been Just Soccer, where the job is separating movement from theater before the next headline tries to do the opposite.